Jacob had 12 sons, and the favorite of them was Joseph, the son of his old age. And to show his love for Joseph, he had a coat made for him, and it was resplendent of many colors. But this made his brothers so envious they couldn't even speak to him civilly. Now one day the brothers were all in a distant land tending the flocks, and so Jacob sent Joseph to check upon them. And as they saw him coming, they said, "Let us kill him and throw him into a deep pit." But Reuben, the oldest of the brothers, said, "No, we cannot have his blood upon our hands. Just throw him into the pit." Now Reuben's plan was to come back at a later time and rescue Joseph. So the brothers grabbed Joseph, stripped him of his coat, and threw him into a deep pit. Shortly after that, Reuben had to leave on errands, and while he was gone, a group of merchants came by on their way to Egypt. Judah said, "We don't have to kill Joseph. Let's take him out of the pit and sell him to these merchants." When Reuben returned and learned what his brothers had done, he was dismayed. But now they needed a story to tell their father. So they took Joseph's coat and they dipped it into the blood of a goat that they had killed, and they brought that to Jacob. He held the coat close to him and he cried, "Joseph, my son, has been killed by wild beasts." None of the sons could comfort their father. Jacob said, "I will mourn the loss of Joseph till the day that I die." Now when Joseph arrived in Egypt, he was sold to Potiphar, the captain of the guards. And he adjusted to life as a slave quickly, and God saw to it that he prospered in everything. Potiphar came to like Joseph and soon put him in charge of his entire household. Joseph was a handsome young man, and soon Potiphar's wife was casting a desirous eye upon him. One day when they were alone, she grabbed Joseph and tried to lure him into her bed, but Joseph slipped out of the cloak that he was wearing and escaped. She was angry and she screamed, and wanting revenge when the servants came running, she said, that Hebrew that my husband brought into our home, he came in here and attacked me. I fought him off." And then she showed him the cloak as proof. When her husband returned that night, she repeated all of those lies to Potiphar, and in anger, he had Joseph thrown into prison. Life in prison was difficult for Joseph, but even there, God showed his steadfast love for him. The jailer came to admire him, and he put Joseph in charge of all the prisoners. Joseph lingered in prison many, many years. Finally, at one time, the Pharaoh began to have dreams that were bothering him, and none of his counselors or wise men could interpret them. The cupbearer, who had been in prison with Joseph, remembered his ability to interpret dreams. Joseph was brought to the Pharaoh, and he told him, "Your dreams mean that Egypt will enjoy 7 bountiful years, followed by 7 years of famine." Pharaoh was impressed by this. He said, "Why, surely God has given you this knowledge. There can be no other man in all of Egypt with your wisdom or your discernment. I will put you in charge of all the people, and they will obey your commands. Only I will have more authority in Egypt than you." Things happened as Joseph had said, and during the 7 bountiful years, he saw to it that the storehouses were filled with grain, and when the famine came, he could open the doors and sell grain to the people. People began coming from other nations, and eventually his brothers arrived. They did not recognize Joseph, but he recognized them. And so he devised a plan that they could buy their grain and return, but their brother Simeon stayed behind. In order to free him, they would have to go back to Canaan and bring Benjamin, the youngest of the sons who stayed with Jacob, and return again to Egypt. Jacob did not want to let Benjamin go. He worried about losing another son. But what choice did he have? The brothers all returned to Egypt, and when they arrived, Joseph revealed his true identity. Oh, they trembled in fear because they worried what revenge would Joseph seek upon them. But Joseph said, "Don't fear me. I cannot be a substitute for God. It's true you wanted to hurt me, but God's plan is to save all of our family. Now return to Canaan and come back to Egypt with my father that I might see him once again." When Pharaoh learned of all of this, he said, "Yes, return to Canaan and come back with your father, with your children, with your wives. Take wagons from here in Egypt that you can travel in comfort. And when you return, don't worry about bringing your possessions. I will see to it that you are given the best of everything that Egypt has to offer." And so it was that Joseph was reunited with his father and all of his family. They settled in the land of Goshen, and they were quite prosperous.